Yeah. So, man, so many things, right? Depression, tentacle sex movies, Japanese exploitation films. You know, we could throw Gilmore Girls in there for some reason, probably more like Buffy or Kill Bill, but like, I, had gone through like a pretty horrible friendship breakup and I was pretty sad. And I have obsessive compulsive disorder, so I was spiraling and I just happened to watch this movie called The Untamed, which is a Spanish language film about a tentacle monster in a shack that fucks people and makes them feel euphoric. But it's like, it's like always kind of a tentacle. It's always a tentacle monster, and the movie's quite dramatic, which I fucking love that it was like a tentacle monster being as dramatic. Of course, like my weird ass is just like, oh wait, but like I really love Japanese cinema because I've been learning Japanese for 6 years. So like, how do we hybridize this like super dramatic, kind of movie with like my zany sensibility or like my millennial cringe, as it were, my chungus energy. So basically, I made like a hybrid version of that where I was just like, let me explore like my obsessive compulsive disorder through the lens of the friendship breakup while homaging one of my favorite tentacle sex movies that all kind of colored with Japanese exploitation film um references and design and tone. And that complete utter clusterfuck of a melting pot of goo, I guess, became the movie. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's funny because a lot of people read the script and they're just like, "How are you going to do this on a budget?" And I was like, "I got you." There's this movie called Mishima: Life in Four Chapters, which is a Paul Schrader film from the '80s, and it's about a very famous gay fascist author who took over a military base and tried to get them to see the ways of the emperor, and they laughed at him, and he killed himself. But he was a very famous author in Japan, and so it's kind of the story I just told you is the movie, and in between are these kind of tidbits of short stories that are told in this like incredibly beautiful theatrical way. Their Eiko Ishioka created these like elaborate theatrical style representational sets that just put you right in there. And so when I watched that movie and like all the, movies of the 60s and 70s from Japan, about like female revenge, like all of these movies have this like wonderful sense of theatricality. And so my first and foremost thing was like, well, I'm gonna do theatrical style sets. I'm gonna do all practical effects because the story kind of lends to this idea of like the idea that we're telling a story and this isn't like real life. This is film. It's heightened. It's not our
Hmm.
reality. So I was like, that's the way we do this. So we set one kind of aspect ratio in the real world, and we set all of the alien world in a different aspect ratio, like as if we're in Japan, like Japanophile, cinephile world, like
Hmm.
and it's like you got, it's like a mixed Stefan here. It's like this movie has everything, and it's just like that to me. Like felt the right way to do it, like not only with the sense of just like let's like make an insane swing, but also in the way that like my OCD kind of develops in my brain. It's kind of a total mishmash of everything. You could be high, like not. I would like not as a kite because it's not like bipolar, it's not mania, but you could be like, on one end like spiraling into the ground, and on the other end you could be just like imagining the most crazy scenarios in which these things happen to you. And like I love that. I don't love it, but I was able to turn it into like kind of an exploration or a visual kind of representation of what it's like to live with the illness that I live with. God, I mean, I can't like I want to be like I remember. I think it just like it was always the title. It was like
Hmm.
very clearly just the title. There is because that's like kind of what you want to happen to you. It's like with the whole kind of metaphor of the thing. Like I want touch me like I want intimacy. Touch me, I want to feel like I want to like touch me with your whatever, your drug, your tentacle, whatever. I want to be taken away. Touch me from the musical Spring Awakening. Who can say where that came from? There was a time where I really wanted the musical that song to be the sex scene, but it turned out to be too silly. Sometimes my silliest ideas do get thrown out. But like, that's it. Like, it is funny because sometimes titles come to you, and sometimes they take a while, and it was just like I was like, okay, a movie about my friendship breakup, and they want a fucking alien touch me. There you go. And it just like kind of just like,
Perfect.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a very difficult movie to cast. One, because the script is so ridiculous and weird. And so when you have something that's this, I guess what I would say, I hate calling it weird because I personally don't think it's weird, but I know everybody else does. So I
Mhm.
think I'll call it specific. So when it's this specific, you have to find the other people who are also specifically freaks. And like kind of understand like the world you're going for. And like you kind of build that in two ways. One, you build the trust that you already had from previous projects or my producers and my director. But when you're finding a cast who's never worked with you before, I personally, I mean, like, I think that's how it happens with everybody. Is like you talk to them for a while and then you realize that you vibe. And so that was the thing. It's just I was looking for my freaks, like the people who, would like come with me and on this journey and trust me. And I would trust them as we would create this work together because film isn't something you make in a vacuum. It's not something that's like, oh, like I did this kind of like, you know, I don't know. I never subscribe to the auteur theory where like what I
Mhm.
say goes. What you have to do is you build a team that all kind of vibrates on the same wavelength, and then when you get on set, the best idea wins. But the best ideas aren't coming. Well, sometimes they come from out of nowhere, and sometimes they're the best ideas. But most of those ideas are generated because everybody kind of understands that the world that we're in. And even if you don't, you can kind of sense it. I know that like at the beginning when I was explaining to my producers about like the theatrical style sets and like the aspect ratio stuff, they're like, I don't get it. And then like once they stepped on the set or they saw a first cut, they're like, oh, I got it. And those were the people that trusted me. But for the people I
Mhm.
had to explain, it was like, oh, come into my world and then let's create this world together. And so they all came from different places. Marlene, who plays Laura, came from my last movie I wrote the part for, and she trusted me, and I trusted her because I love her. She's one of the best actors I've ever met. Like Jordan was the lead of my last one of the leads of my last movie's husband. So it was just like with him, it was like, we sent it to him and I'd already kind of been, like we've already like been kind of friendly and then like he was in right away. And then Lou took the most convincing because I think Brian is the most audacious character in the movie because he could be played like 80 different ways. In fact, in the original script, it was written as if it was like a smoke show in his 50s. And Lou is not that. And Lou wanted to approach it like very differently. But when we sat down and talked about it, he just wanted to talk about logical questions with the sci-fi. And I was like, what a funny thing that like he didn't have any questions about the style. He was like, that all I get. I just want to make sure that scientifically, like logically, like why all these things work. And then he called me the next day and he's like, I want to dye my hair black. I need you to pay for my workouts and I want to do hip hop lessons. And I was like, bet, let's go. And then Olivia was kind of the last uh piece of the puzzle, or they all kind of it all happened really quickly because of like of what happened. So like basically, it's like Olivia, like we were looking, I had an actress dropped out. Olivia was sent the script and then she read it and I met with her 2 hours later and then we were at a bar for 3 hours. We said we had one beer the whole time, but we were just talking about our OCD. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, "Oh, let's do the movie." And that's kind of all the long-winded answer. It's like all different ways, but I found my freaks in like the different like ways. Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
I have so many things. I just think like it is funny because like you think the trailer shows you everything and it really does not. Like that's what like I saw some comments on like Reddit or Twitter or whatever that were like, wow, they just showed the whole movie. And I just like want to be like, you really haven't. So I'm really excited to see people who have watched the trailer and are really excited to uncover all the twists and turns that get us to the end. And of course, like that's like the tip of the iceberg with all the practical effects that we showed in the trailers. So I'm really excited for people to just kind of let it wash over you. And if you can happen to get it to one of our theaters, like that, like I being at film festivals over the past year and change, like watching it in audiences and seeing them like collectively giggle to the point where like when the climax is getting around, they're laughing, but they're also kind of crying. Like a lot, I don't know, just everything. Let it wash over you. And if you hate it, well, that's okay. I will cry about
That's
it.
okay.
I will cry about it, but that's the thing. It's like I'd rather be nine people's favorite thing than 100 people's ninth favorite thing. And that's a quote I stole from the title of the show, a Broadway musical. I used to be a theater kid, and yeah, so yeah, I hope people enjoy.